Listen carefully. What you wear is not just a fashion choice, it's a spiritual statement. Every label, every logo, every design can carry energy, good or evil. Today I'm exposing 12 demonic fashion brands that are silently influencing Christians, shaping hearts, and opening doors to darkness. If you value your spiritual life, you cannot afford to ignore this. Your wardrobe may be blessing you or cursing you. Stay alert, because what I reveal next could save your soul from silent attacks. When we talk about fashion, most people think only of colors, trends, or how something looks on Instagram. But let me tell you something crucial. Clothing is never neutral. Every piece you wear carries energy, intention, and influence. It's a language. It speaks whether you realize it or not. And today, many popular brands are speaking a language that is not of God. Symbols, logos, patterns. They are not just design choices. They are spiritual markers, and some are specifically aligned with darkness. They subtly invite the wearer to embrace attitudes, values, and energies that are far from holy. Think about this for a moment. How many times have you seen a logo or symbol that feels strange, confusing, or even slightly disturbing, yet it's celebrated in the world of fashion? Those symbols are not random. They often have roots in occult practices, hidden societies, or spiritual rebellion. When we, as believers, wear these symbols casually, without understanding, we are sending signals to the spiritual realm. It's like opening a door without knowing who's standing on the other side. What seems harmless in the daylight may carry a very different message in the spiritual dimension. Now, I'm not talking about judging people for wearing trendy clothes. I'm talking about discernment, spiritual sensitivity. God calls us to be careful about what we allow near us, because the enemy uses everything he can to influence our minds and hearts. The energy of rebellion, pride, and darkness can attach itself to symbols, shapes, and even patterns. Some brands deliberately embed these designs to attract attention and appeal to a culture that glorifies self-expression above spiritual wisdom. But God warns us that not everything that shines is light. You might say, it's just a t-shirt, a hoodie, or a sneaker. But hear me clearly. The enemy does not need a large opening. He only needs the smallest access point to begin influencing thought, behavior, and eventually lifestyle. Clothing is one of those access points. And when Christians wear brands without investigating their origins, their symbolism, or their associations, they may be unknowingly giving a foothold to forces that seek to distract, manipulate, and weaken their spiritual walk. This is why discernment is critical. Learning the spiritual language of fashion is not about fear. It's about awareness. It's about understanding that what we put on our bodies communicates far more than a style preference. It communicates allegiance, values, and spiritual openness. Every time you choose what to wear, it is a choice of alignment, and every choice either strengthens your spiritual armor or chips away at it. So today, as we begin to expose these brands, I want you to understand this foundational truth. Fashion is not neutral. Every logo, every pattern, every subtle symbol has meaning. The enemy is strategic, and if we are unaware, we can unknowingly participate in his schemes. But with awareness, prayer, and discernment, we can protect ourselves, honor God, and make choices that build spiritual strength instead of weakening it. Your clothing should speak blessing, not curses. Your wardrobe should honor God, not invite darkness. Choose wisely. Many Christians think that the devil only works in extreme ways, in movies, or in obvious dark practices. But the truth is far more subtle and far more dangerous. One of the most effective strategies the enemy uses today is fashion. Some brands have learned how to take occult symbols, satanic imagery, and rebellion against God and package them in a way that looks stylish, edgy, and cool. When we casually wear these brands, we are not just making a fashion choice. We are normalizing darkness in our daily lives. We are making a statement that says, consciously or unconsciously, I accept this energy in my life. You see, these brands are not transparent about their intentions. They mix demonic symbols with familiar pop culture aesthetics, so most people don't even realize what they are wearing. Inverted crosses, hidden sigils, occult numerology. These things are often hidden in plain sight. And when Christians embrace these brands, they are unknowingly stepping into spiritual danger. The enemy is not only influencing hearts and minds, but also desensitizing people to rebellion against God. What was once clearly wrong begins to feel acceptable. This is how darkness creeps in, quietly, cleverly, and effectively. It is also important to understand the psychological power of repeated exposure. Wearing a brand that celebrates occult aesthetics is like planting a seed in your heart and mind. Every time you see it, wear it, or interact with it, the seed grows. You begin to internalize the values, the rebellion, the pride, and the defiance it represents. And over time, it can affect your thoughts, your choices, and even your spiritual health. The enemy doesn't need to attack you openly. He only needs to influence the little decisions that go unnoticed, like what you wear to school, work, or even church. Some brands even glorify darkness as a form of art or self-expression. And yes, they make it appealing. They make it feel fashionable, bold, and empowering. But we must remember that what feels empowering in the flesh is not always empowering in the spirit. The Bible warns that appearances can be deceiving, that what looks attractive to the world may actually be a snare. We have to see beyond the surface. Every brand that glorifies occult aesthetics is subtly training the culture, and sometimes even Christians themselves, to accept spiritual compromise as normal. Discernment is the key. It's not enough to simply avoid extreme symbols or obvious satanic imagery. We must look deeper, study patterns, and ask hard questions about the origins and messages of the brands we support. We must be intentional about the influence we allow into our lives. Fashion is not neutral, and what we wear is a reflection of our spiritual alignment. We cannot ignore the fact that these brands are normalizing attitudes and symbols that are contrary to God's will. Your spiritual walk cannot afford to be casual. Choosing to reject brands that glorify the occult is not about fear. It is about protecting your mind, your heart, and your relationship with God. Stand firm, choose carefully, and let your wardrobe reflect holiness, not compromise. We live in a world where influence is everything. And one of the most powerful tools the enemy uses today is celebrity culture. Celebrities have enormous platforms, and the brands they choose to wear are not just fashion statements. They are statements of influence. When a popular figure puts on a t-shirt, hoodie, or sneaker with hidden occult symbols, inverted crosses, or demonic-inspired designs, millions of people see it and unconsciously accept it as cool, trendy, or even empowering. What many Christians don't realize is that following these trends blindly can open doors in their lives that they never intended to open. The enemy is strategic. He knows that people look up to idols, not just in a spiritual sense, but in everyday life. Celebrities become role models, whether we like it or not. And when they promote brands that glorify rebellion, darkness, or ungodly principles, they become unwitting instruments in advancing a spiritual agenda. Every post, every endorsement, every appearance in these brands has subtle power. It's marketing, yes, but it's also spiritual influence. And if we don't exercise discernment, we can find ourselves absorbing energies and messages that are contrary to our faith without even realizing it. Think about the psychology behind it. Humans are naturally influenced by those they admire. When someone famous promotes something, it carries weight. People imitate their style, adopt their behavior, and sometimes even adopt their values without questioning the consequences. This is why celebrity influence can be so dangerous spiritually. It makes rebellion against God seem fashionable. It normalizes ideas and symbols that should raise alarm. And over time, repeated exposure weakens spiritual sensitivity, making it easier for the enemy to infiltrate hearts and minds. We must also recognize that the appeal of celebrity-endorsed brands is designed to feel empowering. Wear this and you will be bold. Wear this and you will stand out. Wear this and you will be part of the elite. These messages are seductive, and they are not innocent. They play on pride, on the desire to belong, on the need for acceptance. But God warns us that the allure of the world can be deceptive. What feels like empowerment in the flesh may actually be compromise in the spirit. The celebrity who wears it may not even understand the deeper spiritual implications, but the influence is still real. This is why discernment is essential. Christians must learn to evaluate the influence they allow into their lives. Not every trend, not every celebrity endorsement is safe. We must ask ourselves, does this brand align with holiness? Does it honor God? Or does it subtly normalize rebellion, darkness, or pride? Ignoring these questions puts us at risk of following paths that are spiritually destructive, all under the guise of fashion and admiration. We cannot let admiration for fame override our spiritual judgment. What we choose to wear and whom we choose to follow is a reflection of our heart. The enemy is patient, and his methods are clever. But a vigilant Christian, armed with prayer and discernment, can resist these traps and make choices that honor God instead of opening doors to compromise. Be mindful. Influence is powerful, but your allegiance to God must be stronger. Many people believe that advertisements are harmless, that they are simply trying to sell a product, and that there's nothing spiritual about marketing. But the truth is far deeper and far more dangerous than most realize. Some fashion brands do not just sell clothing, they sell ideas, attitudes, and energies, often hidden in plain sight. Their campaigns are carefully crafted, not only to attract customers, but to subtly influence thoughts, beliefs, and even spiritual openness. Behind the bright colors, catchy slogans, and edgy visuals, there can be messages that glorify rebellion, darkness, or ungodly principles. The enemy is clever. He does not always attack with obvious evil. Sometimes he whispers in symbols, in patterns, and in the images that flood our screens. Have you ever looked at a marketing campaign and felt something strange, something unsettling, but couldn't put your finger on it? That is not a coincidence. Some brands deliberately embed occult imagery, hidden numerology, or subliminal messages that appeal to pride, rebellion, or self-indulgence. You may think you are just admiring a design or a color palette, but your mind is being subtly influenced. These messages can plant seeds in the subconscious that shape values, choices, and even spiritual sensitivity. Consider the power of repeated exposure. Every billboard, every social media post, every commercial you scroll past has potential influence. The more often you see these messages, the more normalized they become. What once felt unusual or uncomfortable starts to feel acceptable. This is how the enemy slowly weakens spiritual discernment through repetition and subtlety. Christians who are unaware of this may find themselves attracted to brands, styles, or trends that are actually aligned with darkness without realizing the spiritual implications. It is also important to understand that these campaigns are designed to appeal to emotions more than reason. They promise confidence, freedom, boldness, or uniqueness, but in reality, they often glorify rebellion against God's principles. They encourage people to wear symbols or slogans that contradict holiness, all under the guise of art, self-expression, or individuality. The danger is that while the message may seem creative or harmless, it carries spiritual consequences. Discernment is key. We cannot simply follow what looks cool or trendy. Christians must train their eyes and their hearts to see beyond surface aesthetics, to question the origins and intentions behind what is being sold. Every marketing campaign is a choice. You can allow it to influence you subconsciously, or you can approach it with awareness, prayer, and wisdom. You must ask, does this campaign honor God? Does it glorify purity, truth, and holiness? Or does it normalize rebellion, pride, or darkness? Do not underestimate the subtle power of hidden messages. The spiritual realm is real, and the enemy is strategic. He uses every tool at his disposal, even the clothes we wear and the ads we see every day. But with vigilance, discernment, and prayer, you can protect your mind, your heart, and your spiritual life. Every choice matters, even the choice of what you allow to influence you. Stay alert and let what you wear and what you support reflect the light, not darkness. Many Christians underestimate the spiritual consequences of what they wear. It seems harmless. A logo, a t-shirt, a pair of shoes. But the truth is, clothing carries influence beyond the physical. When a person chooses to wear brands that glorify darkness, occult symbols, or rebellion against God, it is not just a fashion statement, it is a spiritual statement. And every spiritual statement has consequences. These consequences may not be immediately visible, but over time, they can manifest in ways that affect your mind, your heart, and even your destiny. Some may think, it's just clothing. How can a brand have power over me? But the enemy works subtly. He doesn't always strike openly. He uses the doors we unwittingly open for him. Each symbol, each hidden sigil, each message you wear sends energy into the spiritual realm. It creates a pathway, a foothold, that can invite oppression, confusion, or spiritual heaviness. What seems fashionable on the outside can become a burden on the inside. Those who are not discerning may find that they feel unrest, unexplained anxiety, or a weakening of spiritual sensitivity after repeatedly wearing these brands. There are also testimonies of people who unknowingly allowed these influences into their lives. They followed trends, admired popular styles, and yet over time they began to feel disconnected from prayer, from peace, from the clarity of God's voice. Some experienced doors opening to situations they would never have chosen, conflicts, negative relationships, temptations, and distractions that seem harmless but slowly steal joy and focus. The connection is not always obvious, but the principle is clear. What we align ourselves with externally can impact us internally and spiritually. Another consequence is the slow normalization of rebellion. When Christians repeatedly wear brands that glorify darkness or ungodly values, their hearts can slowly become desensitized. What was once shocking or unacceptable begins to feel normal. Pride, materialism, self-exaltation, and even subtle idolatry can creep into the spirit without notice. This is why discernment is not optional, it is essential. The enemy does not need to attack with force if he can sneak in through your choices, through the things you embrace as fashionable or trendy. It is also important to recognize that the spiritual consequences extend beyond the individual. Influence spreads. When you wear these brands, people around you, family, friends, and younger Christians, see the acceptance of these messages. The normalization continues. The enemy is not just attacking one person, he is using influence to shape culture, hearts, and minds. But there is hope. Awareness and deliberate choices protect you. Choosing clothing that aligns with holiness, that honors God, and that resists darkness strengthens your spiritual armor. Every time you reject a demonic influence, you are declaring allegiance to God and His protection over your life. The consequences of wearing these brands can be avoided, not by fear, but by vigilance, discernment, and intentionality. Your wardrobe is a spiritual battleground. Every choice matters. Choose life, choose holiness, and refuse to carry darkness on your body. At this point, you may be asking, how do I protect myself? How do I navigate a world where darkness is disguised as fashion, as fun, as freedom? The answer lies in discernment, rooted not in fear, but in the Word of God and a life committed to spiritual awareness. Discernment is not complicated, it is intentional. It is about training your eyes, your mind, and your heart to recognize what aligns with God and what opens doors to compromise. It is about making every choice, even the choice of what to wear, a reflection of holiness and allegiance to Him. The first step is awareness. You cannot fight what you do not see. Study the brands you interact with. Look beyond the flashy logos and the marketing campaigns. Ask questions. What does this symbol mean? Where does this design originate? What message is being glorified? Awareness is the foundation of discernment. Without it, we wander blindly, unknowingly opening doors that the enemy patiently waits to exploit. Next comes prayer. Prayer is your spiritual shield. Before you purchase, wear, or even admire a brand, ask God for guidance. Ask Him to reveal the intentions behind it and the potential spiritual consequences. Prayer sharpens your spiritual senses. It builds a sensitivity to what is holy and what is not. When prayer becomes a habit in decision-making, even in something as seemingly small as clothing, you strengthen your armor against deception. Research is also essential. In today's world, information is available at your fingertips. Look into the origins of brands, their founders, their campaigns, and their symbolism. God calls us to be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. Knowledge without spiritual sensitivity can still be dangerous, but knowledge coupled with prayer creates discernment, allowing you to make informed, spiritually safe choices. Accountability is another powerful tool. Surround yourself with people who will speak truth into your life. Friends, mentors, or church leaders who understand spiritual warfare and the subtlety of influence can guide you. They can help you spot brands or trends that may seem harmless but carry spiritual compromise. You are not meant to navigate these battles alone. Discernment grows when we walk with others who are vigilant, prayerful, and committed to holiness. Finally, remember that choice is a spiritual declaration. Every time you refuse to wear a brand that glorifies rebellion, darkness, or ungodly values, you are taking a stand. You are declaring with your actions and your life that holiness matters, that God's principles matter, that your allegiance is to Him alone. Discernment is not merely avoiding danger, it is actively choosing God in every detail of your life, letting your actions, even your wardrobe, reflect the light of Christ. The world will try to convince you that style and influence are neutral, that rebellion is harmless, that trends are just fun. But you know better now. You know that what you wear speaks. Your choices matter. Your discernment matters. Protect your heart, guard your mind, and let every decision honor God. Stand firm, choose wisely, and let your life be a testimony of holiness in a world that glorifies compromise.